Well, it might be cold, but it's a beautiful sunny day. No, it's not. It might be cold. It is freezing cold. I did drag my feet getting out of bed. It's around 25 after 8 right now, and I'm not in a big hurry to get to the barn. I have to go race this afternoon with the Meadows, but I know there's a lot of horses to jog today, and I know any moment now I'm going to get a text message saying, Anthony, it's a little slippery getting out the doors. Some of these babies don't have corks on. Should we just give them the day off? To which I will answer, no, you can put some more salt at the doorways and you can wait half an hour, and take your time getting to the track. The track is fine, but it is a little icy. When it's 17 Fahrenheit now, it was 13 when I get in the car over at the house, so I don't know how that changed. Now, I'm not real good with temperatures, but I'm certain it's at least, just hold on. Yeah, it's like minus 15 Celsius before the wind chill. And it's not windy, but it's cold. Very, very cold day. You know what? Went to Starbucks, got my mug here, HPI Bet Woodbine Partners Summit. Thanks to Klaus for this. When I drove over to Ontario and spoke about fractional ownership and the impacts it can have on racing, I almost said it, I felt like it fell on deaf ears, but it didn't. I mean, everybody wants to see the industry move forward. Even when I spoke in New York, so I said Woodbine 2 weeks ago, it was like a month ago. 2 weeks ago in New York or so, you have the state government there. And we all know how quickly politics moves. So it felt like, you're flying to a place, then driving to a place to speak to people that don't really care if they hear from you, and then flying home. You can look at it that way. My take on it after I spoke to them was another positive step forward. Every time I do something like that, it brings me back to probably one of the biggest decisions I ever made in my life, and that was regarding politics. And I remember very vividly sitting there just by myself, trying to envision what my life would look like if I wasn't in horse racing anymore, and instead I was wearing a suit to work every day and I was in politics. Part of me thought it would be interesting, just a change. Do you ever have that feeling in your life where, what would my life be if I just stopped what I'm doing now and changed things up? It can be invigorating sometimes and scary. And on a good day, that's how it felt. On a bad day, it felt terrifying. But I remember thinking to myself, and I said it in most of the videos, and I still get pretty emotional about it, I thought to myself, if there wasn't horse racing when your daughter got older, or your son got older, and they look back at what your life was, and they come upon the chapter where you were a horse racing driver, and they said, Dad, why isn't there racing anymore? And you didn't do everything you could to help save it and fix it. Would you be okay with that? What would you tell your daughter, your son? And I was asked to run in politics in Guelph. And really, the answer to that question, would you do that, completely hinged on that entire scenario I just rolled out for you. What would you tell your kids? Now, obviously, I didn't play much of a role in politics, and I didn't play much of a role in anything moving forward after that, other than introducing fractional ownership the way that we do it to the general public and to the entire industry. Now, it's gone very well for us. Obviously, we got one of the biggest barns in North America. We race everywhere. We're pretty well known. We've brought a lot of people into the industry from the general public, and we're going to continue to do that in 2026 and beyond. So every time I go to, drive to Ontario for the summit, and every time I fly to New York to speak to politicians or anywhere to speak to anybody, baby steps. Every little bit counts. And that's the way you have to view it. So, the reason I say this, I had a every day I get a number of emails, and every so often I'll get one out of the blue from somebody I haven't talked to in a while, or an obscure question. And yesterday I got an email from somebody close to my age group, maybe a little younger than me, that I haven't spoke to in a while. I got a lot of respect for her and her family. And she messaged me, and clearly her message, she was frustrated about the state of Ontario in regards to racing overnight horses. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this. You know where I'm going with this. I've been talking about it recently for the last 2-3 weeks. And moreover, every so often it comes up. The lack of consistency in the condition sheets. But and I don't, again, I'm sure there's people that watch this that are affiliated with Woodbine, like, oh, here we go, he's going to rag about. It's not me ragging about Woodbine Mohawk. This is more of an industry thing. You know, I don't rag about it as much here, because if we can't get in at Northfield, we go to Dayton, or we go to the Meadows, or I send them to Philadelphia or Dover or New York, somewhere, or over to Ontario. We have options. But put yourself in the position of somebody that is based in and operates solely in Ontario. The B-Tracks don't race for enough money, and their condition sheets are kind of stagnant too, right? They're kind of 1 through 9. There's not a lot of flexibility. Now, obviously, the race secretaries make it flexible, which is good. You know, about 10 years ago, and somebody reminded me about this, and I still stand behind it. About 10 years ago, maybe more than that, I told everybody, you know, and at that time, no, it was longer than 10 years ago, because we had, James wasn't even a driver then, and we had an operating stable. And I said, I would rather email a race secretary 25 names of horses on a Sunday night and just ask them to put them in where they can do. I don't need them to be 1 to 9, but I absolutely do not want them 20 to 1. And if you can't find a class for my horse that puts them at somewhere from 9 to 5 to 7 to 1, then I'll just get rid of the horse. Simple as that. I'm not beating my head against the wall every week trying to, you know, reinvent the wheel. Oh, I'm going to take this long shot and figure out a way to win. I'm not a good enough driver to do it, and I don't want to pretend that I am. And that's before we had hundreds of clients. We only had a handful. But it rings even more true now. I would still do that. I would still email Northfield, the Meadows, everywhere, or have our trainers email them, just say, here's our horses for the week, let me know. But that would take a great deal of trust in the race secretary, and I have an immense amount of trust. Well, at the time, it was Ian Fleming. Just be very blunt. I don't want long shots. I don't need 1 to 9 shots, but I do not want 20 to 1 shots under any circumstances. Simple. And they actually did implement it for a couple of years at the Meadowlands, and it fell apart again because people complained and horses were getting in where they shouldn't. The whole point is, from a race secretary, from a logistical race secretary standpoint, you don't want 1 to 9 shots, and you don't want 20 to 1 shots. You want strong, competitive betting boards and fields. That's what you want. And that's what we're all after. But that's where, in 2025, this entirety of, and as Woodbine had said it, when I was speaking to them briefly, somebody from Woodbine had said it, that AI and the use of AI in condition sheets would be coming sooner than you think, which is cool. I think that's great. But the information you have to input for AI to use is the information I've been asking for 12 years. So that's kind of where I'm at in respect to that. I appreciate that, you know, you're turning the corner and you're going to implement some of these tools that are available in everyday life now for all of us in regards to building condition sheets. But the information you need to do so, that was what I had been after, and I still am after. Because as it sits right now, I can't consistently send horses to Ontario to race. I can send them to train back, maybe race the maiden, Onwards and 2, and ship them out. But I can't buy horses to consistently race at Mohawk because it's impossible to find consistent classes. 1, Onwards 1, 2, maybe 3, 4. Then after that, everything is mixed together up to the open and backup class. I don't want any horses in the middle. None. I've been pretty clear about that. And I've had some very good discussions with people about that topic. You know, I call it ladder racing. I've had a number of people message me making arguments for that very thing. There's just none to be made. Any way you cut it, in my mind, you're wasting 20 to 30 starts a year 20 to 30% of your starts every year on races you know you can't win. It's just unacceptable for me, and not a way that I want to see the barn run. So I'm happy to have the dialogue and talk about it, but it's not going to happen. Anyway, the crux of the email yesterday was from, as I said, somebody I respect a lot, respect her family a lot, and very concerned about the state of racing in Ontario and how they fix it. And I told her that exact thing what I just told you. I made a video because obviously you can't ramble in a text message or a message. But I think they're going to get there. And I will finish this thought with the way I started. This is not an attack on Woodbine. Make no mistake. What I just outlined happens everywhere right now in every jurisdiction and every racetrack in North America. Every single one. Understanding what fills and doesn't fill is the difference between being able to enter your horses with confidence and not. And that's what I'm trying to have the jurisdictions understand. I can't in good faith buy horses for a lot of these. We're not buying middle condition horses for Northfield either. Take a look at what we race. Now there's a 1, 2, 3 in the open. That's what we race at Northfield. Some horses slide down, some horses come up, but for the most part, that's what we race. Dayton, those condition claimers, open pace and trot. Maiden owners are 2. This is not just a Woodbine thing. This is how we race horses. But I do think there's a better way forward of every jurisdiction. And here's another thought. You know, today we're entering 4 or 5 or 6 horses for Wednesday at Northfield. Now, usually, if you want to get really clever, you have to manipulate and move around horses to race. Okay, that one's not getting in Northfield. Hey, can you use it at the Meadows? But this week, the Meadows draws Wednesday on Sunday. It's perfect. I can see where every one of my horses are getting in and not getting in, and every one that is not getting in is 100% available to race at the Meadows if needed. Stagger your draw dates. And if I'm going to go further to that thought from when I used to drive, and I know what bothers the drivers, and I know the racetracks don't generally care, but they should. It doesn't matter when you draw, have a 10 a.m., 48 hours before the race, hard line for your driver changes. Because a lot of them, and you guys know that, if your driver's out there, you pay attention, Saratoga might draw 6 days out. Poconos might draw 5 days out. Mohawk might draw 72 hours out, 96 hours out. Same goes for Northfield. They're all different. So it becomes a problem sometimes where you have to commit to one track because you aren't able to see. And the racetracks might look at that and say, well, I don't want them to see. I don't want them to lead. But that isn't the best way to go about it. Allowing people to be competitive and competitive nature across the board is the best way to go about it. So that's my general feeling. Every box, 10 a.m., 48 hours before the race, hard line, the drivers are to tell you where they're going to be. Not the day before, not the night of the draw, not the morning after, 48 hours before. It just seems fair to me. It always did. But I can assure you it always came with pushback. So, I had explained to that person that I would help out in any way, but, you know, people ask me all the time, you know, did you give up on Ontario? Why did you leave Ontario? I left Ontario because my brother kicked me out, for the most part. I don't need to be in Ontario when James McDonald is the leading driver there. I don't want to spend my time toiling at the B tracks while I'm trying to raise a family. I did that for a long time, and that's the one thing that politics did also allow me to see was the expense. And I don't mean financial, but the expense you pay when raising a family in this industry. You know, as a driver, you get locked in. Go, 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 go. And in Ontario at the time when I was driving a lot, there was an endless supply of racetracks to race at. There was no free time. I raced 2,900, almost 3,000 races the last year I raced full-time as a driver, like 2011, 12, something like that. That's like 7 drives a day, every day, no vacations, no days off, no time off. 7 drives a day. More than that. 365, let's call it 7 point something. And you get sucked into that routine. And you can't miss, because if you don't show up at a track, someone else is going to drive those horses. Next week when the sheet comes out, they're down to drive those horses. So you can't miss. So it's tough. Tough business. Anyway, I told her in any way I didn't leave Ontario. I didn't walk away or turn my back. I simply did what was best for myself and my family. I didn't want to drive in the B tracks full time. I wasn't needed at the A track at all. Maybe I never was, I don't know. Training was fun, but we have competent trainers there. Where is it best for Anthony and the McDonald family? Cost effectiveness, Ohio is good. Track's good. Lots of racing here. I'm actually needed in some places, I believe. More than I was in Ontario, at the least. That's a fair statement. More opportunities, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But opportunities on my terms. Not on the terms of the industry or my chaotic life. And I get to see my kids grow up. I get to be a part of that. That's something that is not always easily said or done elsewhere. So I told that person I would be happy to work with putting together something, a proposal to Ontario, but it sounds like behind the scenes they're working on it. And as I said to the representative in the assembly, the chairperson the other day, I said, they were talking about New York always being, one of the nation's leaders in horse racing, incentivizing their horse people. I said, well, I'll tell you the same thing. I'll tell Ontario the same thing. You have the opportunity to be a world leader. Changing the way that we approach racing, we approach our condition sheets that is more satisfactory to our clients, which are the horse people and their horses. And as it comes to fractional ownership, turning the page and turning the corner and allowing, and this would have to be a COSA. I don't think OHA has the clout anymore in Ontario. The Ontario Harness Horse Association will have always worked hard for horse people. COSA would be the primary horseman's contact, and it needs to be a horseman-run program. Fractional ownership to help trainers understand what their expectations are now as fractional trainers, what they need to be in respect to how they treat their clients and how they approach their stable and their clientele, and holding them to it. If we want to truly bridge the gap between our walled-off industry and the general public, fractional ownership is the very best way to do it, in my opinion. Anyway, enough about that. You've heard me talk about that a million times. I did get another email this morning from a client. He said, Anthony, it just seems like your video the other day, you were talking about a colt named Boitano quite a bit. Looked at his pictures. He looked kind of scrawny in his pictures. He didn't look like much. There wasn't a lot to go on. Well, those pictures were posted from the farm when we had the colt come in. We don't update the pictures very often. We should. There's things that we should do better. We should have current videos of the horses. We should have pictures of the horses. But we can only do so much. And as we expand our roles, as I said, I've talked to you about this a number of times, as the stable changes over the next year, and it will change, and we expand some of our roles and decrease some of our other roles, more focused roles for the people in their places, we will be able to do that. That won't be a problem. But as it comes to Boitano, gentleman had pointed out some flaws that he had thought he saw from the videos. Now, I would caution everybody, right? I have people all the time during sales season that will send me still shots of videos. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? I will tell you that it's 20 to 25 minutes of videos edited down to a minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe at the very most. Maybe not even that. Pictures are professionally done, airbrushed, and I don't care about any of it. None of it. All I care about is how the horse trots and their attitude right now. That's it. More paces. Attitude. Number one thing. The gait. their work ethic. These are the things I care about. The idea that all this crap that we think about at the sales means anything right now is, in my opinion, ludicrous. Everything has to go towards training the horses down, polishing them. Everything we do. The horses are purchased. We've done our best to pick out horses. And I always love how people say, I picked this one out, I picked that one out. Everybody picks out good horses. I do the same thing. Somebody sent me a video. I think they sent it as a joke the first time, but it was true. I made this big video about how I love Twin Bee Joe Fresh at the sale. And it felt good. I picked out Twin Bee Joe Fresh. I might have done 30 videos in that sale. Maybe 50, I don't know. And I saw the look on our client's face. We all went out in a group and talking about the horses. What are your thoughts? What do you think of this one? And I love that dialogue. But honestly, and I said something I said before, I'd rather somebody just drop off 50 babies in the barn that look athletic with pretty good breeding and said, here, tell me what you think. Because the idea that somebody knows more than someone else at this time of year is just silly. It's just not accurate at all. Numbers is the best way. Start with a large number, train the horses hard, train them like athletes, hope they stay sound, hope they stay healthy, hope they have talent. Put that all together in a nice polished package, best you can by June, July, August. Put them on the track. Again, hope they stay sound, hope they stay healthy, hope they get good draws. If they draw good, hope they're in with horses they can do well against. Then they just have to get a good draw and have luck. None of that comes into right now. Zero. And if you say, well, hold on, Anthony, you're going to start with the horses that have perfect conformation and deep breeding. Oh, really? Have you looked at the programs at all? It's not the case at all. Horses with a good work ethic, some heart, determination will always go further than any of the other ones. That's just the way it is. And if you walked up and down the paddock on Breeders' Crown Night, and if you asked those trainers, is this horse trained down perfect? Was there any issues? OCDs? Sickness? Are there any current issues with this horse? Anything this horse is working itself through? I think you'd be very surprised the answers you get if they were candid with you. Nobody knows. That's what makes this game such a fantastic game. It doesn't matter how much money you start with. It does not mean that you are going to dominate the game. You cannot come into horse racing and buy your way into the old boys club. You think you can, but you can't quite get in there. And you look at guys that come in from other places that have raced current stables. Well, they fit in, right? Melander's made a splash immediately. Tactor, Sponstead, these guys were effective everywhere they've been. Then you can look at the other side of it. You can look at the people that just showed up with a big blank check and start buying horses. You might see a contrast between the two. Horsemanship it has to be paramount. And this is why I focus so much on value when I go to the sale, because I'm aware. I don't know which one's going to be a winner, which one's going to be a loser, which one can fly and which one can't, which one will stay sound and healthy and which one will get hurt. I don't know that. And I can't pretend to. But what I'd like to look at is how much do I think that horse is worth? And how much will you take for that horse? And if I can get value on day one, and I do my job well, if I do my job well, then that's a good start. And I do listen to all our clients. This horse is bred really well. Have you looked at this horse? Geez, I really like this horse. That's pre-sale and post-sale. I've talked about every horse. And for the people out there that think that I just push horses like Boitano because he has shares available, Boitano will have to sell himself. I can talk to Lembleu in the face. All the horses that have lots of shares left now, it's over. Now the marriage is over. Now you're going to have to show me. And they will, because they trot nice or they pace nice. I don't have one horse in the barn right now. I'm like, that guy's got to go. There's a couple near the bottom of the list. And then I look back and look at some of the horses that were at the bottom of the list for much of their life and how much I ended up liking them. Austral Hanover, I'm Fancy Like. Those are 2 horses on each gate, 1 on each gate, that were horrible, horrible, horrible animals when we broke them. In fact, Austral Hanover didn't even look like a racehorse until he was a racehorse. What I mean by that was, he looked terrible right up until the point we put his nose on the gate and qualified him. So the idea that anybody knows at any point in time is just silly. Oh, this one's back in his knees and this one's, toed out a little bit. Sure they are. What's the price? What's the value? Is there value there? Oh, you might be sitting home saying, Anthony, you're wrong. I'm going to start with perfect pedigree, perfect confirmation. Cool. That means you're talking 6 figures. Now you go down to Lexington or look at any Lexington program from the last 3 or 4 years during Grand Circuit Week. Look at the horses that raced in the bottom class. Not the Goldenrod. Is that the Goldenrod? The bottom one? Look at their prices. Look how much they paid for them and look at where they went. There's plenty of horses there that had perfect confirmation. That had the deepest of deepest breeding. It's just more horses. Now, other side of that is you don't want to go buy a bunch of crooked, standing out, poorly bred horses. You know where that's going to end up. That's beyond a game of chance. That's stupidity. But you do your best to find the best pedigree with the best confirmation. There's going to be some flaws along the way. And are you okay with those? If so, what's your new price? What's the price offered? What's the price taken? And that's how we end up with our horses. So a long 30 minutes about nothing. Here, I guess I'm contractually obligated to do it. The horses raced good yesterday. Arrowhead Hanover raced good. Raging Hanover did not. A lot of our clients and partners with Raging Hanover messaged me to say, hey, Anthony, I know I saw your write-up after I heard your video. You're going to take all the stuff off him and just race him like a horse, see how he is. But what are your thoughts? I'm concerned, obviously. We bought him to be a better horse. We bought a horse that was fractious and hot, fast and crazy, make breaks and get out of gear. And my number one goal was to polish him up. Polish him up and see how he does. Well, we polished him up, and he's nice and slow. Got him to the point where I don't feel he's going to make a break. His last 4 starts, every week he got better, gated-wise. Now he's still a little hot. Did I shut his air off yesterday? Possibly. So I'm going to rectify all of the above. I'm going to take all the impediments off him that we put on him to help him. Right? Put that ear hood, earplugs on him, all the stuff we put on him. Take it all off. He's there now. I'm going to change the driver. I'm going to put Aaron Merriman on him next week. See how he races. And we'll see what's up with Raging Hanover. For my partners, the Meadowlands next week is where we're headed with Arrowhead Hanover. He's on tour a little bit. There's a series there that Greg had found. And he'll be starting in the second leg next week, which is exciting in its own right. Really happy to see that. And for my rant of this morning, it wasn't really a rant. I wasn't angry in any way. I wanted to respond to our clients that are asking about our horses, my thoughts on the horses. And particularly my thoughts on a lot of horses. Listen, there's a lot of horses with shares left. I guess to finish that statement, to finish that thought, I had 4 videos about History Hanover. No shares left of him. And there won't be any shares left of him. I had 3 videos or 2 videos of Travel Blog. 2 of Cover My Short. Other shares left to Cover My Short, you're right. Travel Blog there isn't. I just felt that it was interesting that I didn't see in the pedigree what our European clients saw in the pedigree of Boitano. And when I watched him trot over the last week, and Amy, who's always very grounded, much like James, compliments, yeah, they go nice. I like the horse. She talked very highly of the horse also. So I was interested to see how he looked. But as far as any kind of deformities he has, there's none. Did he look a little ribby and small in the photos? Yep. Much like a normal horse that wasn't prepped for the sale and just came from the field right to the barn. He eats good. He's put on a ton of weight. He's growing up. He's filled out. He said he's a little higher on the back. Is he a little sway back? No, of course he's not. He's a yearling that's growing up. You guys saw the same video I did of him trotting the other day. The horse trots great. Made a few little breaks. It's no big deal at all. But I don't want to keep talking about him. I'm at the barn now. I should have started this video when I got to the barn, so I had a half an hour reason not to go in. It is cold. We're now up to 19 degrees here in Northfield. What do we got here? Drebin? No, that's not him. What do you got there? Oh, Gorgeous Package. Can't believe I just mistook Gorgeous Package for Drebin. One's about a foot taller than the other. So, not a whole lot to talk about today. I just want to talk about stuff. I always want to respond to people when they send me emails. I appreciate the email from a person in Ontario. And as I said, I'd be happy to collaborate on any sort of proposal or workup regarding advancing the horse racing breed anywhere. I did it happily, flew to New York and spoke to people I've never met before about it, and I'd happily speak to people I've known my whole life in Ontario about the very same thing. In regards to the babies, I'm happy with the way they are going, Boitano included. Very happy with the way some of the horses look and behave. Not super excited about going to race at the Meadows Day. It's cold there too. But nevertheless, I am excited to race Rock Shining Star, 3-point blue chip. Also, we've been trying to rehab him over here. He might be a tiny bit short, but I'm more eager to see how he trots. So we'll see how he does today. So we have Rock Shining Star, 3-point blue chip. Oh, Winter Soldier's in a good spot today too. So there you have it. That's what's going on today at the races. We also have Woodmere Flojo tonight, post 10. Man, she draws bad tonight. And then we have a number of babies going today, a number of horses training today. We'll have the babies going again tomorrow, if it's not freezing cold again, I suppose. But they do have to continue to go. So with that, if you're in the area tomorrow, drop by. Happy to have a coffee with you, talk about the babies, all of them. And for everybody else, we have the open house coming up. Why do not lead with the open house all the time? The open house coming up on the 14th. It should be a lot of fun here in Northfield, Ohio. And we are also going to have the same open house from Ontario. We're going to have some coffee and donuts out for people. If you want to go out, watch the horses go through their paces. There's only 6 or 7 that will be going out, I think, on the 14th. We just had no CD out of Sunday Royale. He'll be able to jog on that day, but as far as workouts, I don't think he'll be able to. We do potentially have a new yearling coming into the barn also, so I'll tell you more about that when it does arrive, if it does arrive. But for now, I am done rambling for a Friday morning. Hope I didn't waste 33 minutes of your time, but I did want to talk about a few little things. Some of them I generally talk about, and some of them I don't. Anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, start to your weekend. It is cold but sunny here. I hope it is at least sunny wherever you are. Take care.